Right now, somewhere in like a luxury five-star hotel, there is a highly trained professional who is actively trying to fall asleep. And if they wake up with a stiff neck or if they find themselves, you know, tossing and turning at 2 in the morning, a multi-million-dollar corporate investment could just absolutely collapse.
Yeah, it sounds like a massive exaggeration, but it really isn't. I mean, we always think of work and relaxation as these total opposites, right? But for a very specific subset of the global workforce, that line between the two just doesn't even exist.
And that is exactly what we're getting into today. So welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fantastic set of notes today from the popular language channel Speakeasy English. And our mission for you, the listener, is twofold.
Right, two parts today.
First, we are looking at the strict science and the honestly surprising economics behind three shockingly real, incredibly bizarre careers. Jobs that just sound like complete jokes. I mean, we were talking about jobs where people actually get paid to sleep or get paid to ride rides or evaluate things that you would never, ever dream of putting in your mouth.
Yeah, but we aren't just, looking at funny job titles and laughing at them. The framework here is to really analyze the deep logic behind the weirdness. There's an immense amount of rigorous engineering, sensory science, and financial calculus behind these bizarre ways people make a living.
Absolutely. We are keeping it lively today, avoiding all that dense jargon and really focusing on the how and the why. And then the second part of our mission is to take that core theme of these wildly unusual jobs, which is really about the intense evaluation of time and experience, and apply it directly to you.
Right, bringing it back to the daily routine.
Exactly. We're going to use the Speakeasy English notes to naturally upgrade your daily vocabulary. Taking those kind of rigid, basic ways we usually talk about our schedules and transforming them into the natural, vivid phrases that native speakers actually use.
It is a super fascinating journey. We're going from the absolute extremes of the global economy right back down to your own living room, basically.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
I want to start with that person trying to fall asleep in the five-star hotel. Because, I mean, the ultimate antithesis of the stressful 9-to-5 office grind is getting paid to literally be unconscious.
Right.
The source material introduces us to the professional luxury bed evaluator.
Yeah, and to the outside world, this just looks like someone napping for a living. I mean, it is the universal Monday morning fantasy for anyone exhausted by the modern workplace.
Right.
But if you connect this to the bigger picture of the hospitality industry, the stakes become, well, crystal clear. When a luxury hotel chain decides to upgrade the beds across 1,000 different global properties, they aren't just, buying some furniture.
Right, they aren't going to the local mattress store.
Exactly. They are making a massive, multi-million-dollar capital investment in their core product.
Because at the end of the day, no matter how incredible the lobby architecture is or how amazing the spa services are, you're essentially renting a rectangle of space to sleep in. And if you wake up with a sore back, you are never booking a room with them again.
Precisely. And you are going to go online and leave a scathing review. So the evaluator is brought in to perform this really deep, conscious analysis of comfort and sleep quality to protect that massive investment. They are basically auditing the hospitality industry's most crucial product.
It's almost like being a sleep sommelier.
Yeah.
You aren't just gulping down the wine to get a buzz. You are like swishing it around to identify the subtle notes of oak and blackberry.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
But, okay, here is where I kind of have to push back a little on the fantasy of this job. Because if I try to imagine actually doing this, like seriously doing it, I feel like it would completely ruin the enjoyment of sleep.
Oh, yeah. That is the central paradox of the profession. You are literally tasked with consciously measuring an unconscious state.
Right. If I'm laying there trying to drift off, but my brain is actively running this complex diagnostic checklist, I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Like, is this pillow too lofty? Are the high thread count sheets trapping too much body heat?
Right.
The decibel level of the air conditioning unit too high? Is there a draft hitting my left ankle? I mean, I would have terrible insomnia. The moment you turn a basic biological necessity into an analytical spreadsheet,
Yeah.
you sort of kill the magic of a good night's rest.
Which is exactly why it is such a highly specialized skill. It requires this incredible separation of the physical self from the observing self. You have to maintain this really rigorous analytical mindset while engaging in the most passive state of human existence.
That sounds exhausting, honestly.
It really is. I mean, they aren't just measuring the foam density of the mattress. They are evaluating the thermal conductivity of the linens, the ambient light bleeding under the door, the exact angle of spinal support. They are engineering absolute static relaxation.
Static relaxation. I really like that phrase. But obviously, if the hospitality industry spends millions engineering absolute static silence and stillness, the theme park industry spends millions engineering the exact opposite, right? Absolute kinetic chaos. And someone has to evaluate that too.
Right. And this contrast really highlights the shared analytical DNA between these very different fields. If the bed tester evaluates absolute static relaxation, the next profession in our notes evaluates extreme kinetic thrill.
Oh man, this one is wild. We are talking about the water slide tester. These professionals are hired by major theme parks and global resorts to travel the world and literally slide down brand new water slides multiple times
Mhm.
long before the general public is ever allowed anywhere near them.
And again, we really have to look past the surface here. From the outside, it just looks like an adult playing around at a water park getting paid to have fun.
Look, I love water parks.
Sure.
I really do. But when I was reading this part of the source material, my jaw just dropped, sliding down a 70-foot vertical drop before it's fully certified.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
How do they even balance the supposed fun factor with the terrifying reality that they're essentially human crash test dummies? I mean, someone has to be the very first biological organism to go down that tube.
It raises a super fascinating point about the intersection of strict physics and human psychology. It is this delicate balance of high adrenaline and precision engineering. The source material actually notes a truly chilling detail. It says one wrong angle in the water flow could change everything.
That is terrifying. Just one angle.
Yeah, think about the physics involved. Water is incredibly heavy, and when it is pumped up a tower and allowed to rush down a fiberglass tube, it moves with tremendous unforgiving force. When you are flying down a water slide, the only thing preventing you from suffering severe friction burns or literally flying over the edge of a banked turn is a highly calculated millimeter-thin layer of flowing water.
But wait, don't they test that with computers first? Or send down, I don't know, a sack of potatoes or something?
Oh, of course they do. The engineers build these highly complex computer fluid dynamic models, and they send down weighted sandbags and specialized crash dummies, to test the velocity and the weight distribution.
Okay, good.
But here's the thing. A sandbag cannot tell you if the transition from a steep drop into a sudden curve violently and painfully jerks your neck. A crash dummy cannot tell you if the amount of water splashing into your face creates a feeling of drowning rather than, a feeling of excitement.
Right. A sandbag can't tell you if it had a good time.
Exactly. The human tester bridges the gap between the mathematical physics of the fiberglass tube and the biological reality of the human spine. They are evaluating the G-forces, the visibility, the psychological pacing of the ride.
Wow.
They are essentially calibrating the experience to make sure that the illusion of danger, which is the entire point of a thrill ride, right, never crosses the line into actual physical danger. It is absolute safety engineering disguised as a day at the beach.
So we have the bed testers meticulously evaluating experiences for sleeping humans. And we have the water slide testers evaluating experiences for thrill-seeking humans. The through line here is evaluating the human experience.
Correct.
But this leads to a really fascinating problem highlighted in the notes. How do you evaluate an experience for a client who literally cannot speak a language to tell you if they like the product or not?
And this is where the evaluation process requires a massive leap in sensory empathy. We are moving from physics straight into biology.
The ultimate sensory sacrifice, the pet food quality tester.
It's actually a vital role in a multi-billion-dollar global market.
Okay, so according to the source, humans are hired by major pet food companies to taste dog and cat food. They check the smell, they evaluate the texture under their teeth, and they analyze the flavor balance. Now, the notes do clarify that they usually don't swallow it. They spit it out, but still.
It's still quite a visual.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my initial visceral reaction is just pure disgust. Why, humans, if the golden retriever can't talk and tell you if they prefer the beef pate or the salmon kibble, why not just use a lab machine?
Well,
we have incredible technology. Just run the kibble through a mass spectrometer, check the vitamin and mineral levels, confirm the protein content, and be done with it. Chewing on dog food just sounds like a step too far.
it sounds totally absurd until you break down the science of taste and how flavor profiles actually work. A lab machine is, phenomenal at measuring objective, quantifiable data.
Right, the numbers.
Yeah, it can tell you the exact percentage of crude protein, or the calcium to phosphorus ratio, or guarantee that the product is completely free of harmful bacteria. But a machine is absolutely terrible at evaluating subjective, holistic experience.
But it's a dog.
Yeah.
We've all seen dogs drink out of muddy puddles or eat things literally out of the garbage. Do they really have a highly refined sense of subjective culinary experience?
They actually care immensely, but the architecture of their sensory experience is just different from ours. The source points out that testers check the smell first, which is the most critical metric for
Oh,
pets.
because of their noses.
Exactly. A dog's primary method of interacting with the world is olfactory. Their sense of smell is orders of magnitude more sensitive than ours. If a newly formulated food doesn't smell appealing to them, they simply will not eat it, no matter how nutritionally perfect the lab machine insists it is.
Okay, I can understand calibrating the smell. I totally get that. But physically chewing it, what is a human palate doing that a machine can't possibly do?
Texture and flavor synergy. Imagine if every single meal you ate for the rest of your life was the exact same dry cereal. The physical crunch factor matters immensely.
Interesting.
How the kibble shatters under the teeth matters for their dental health, specifically for tartar removal, and it matters for their psychological enjoyment. The human tester is performing a highly scientific sensory evaluation.
So they're basically checking for imbalances.
Precisely. The human palate is incredibly sophisticated at detecting subtle flavor imbalances. They can determine if a new preservative makes the aftertaste too bitter. They can tell if the fish meal is completely overpowering the chicken base, creating this unpleasant sensory clash.
So they spit it out because,
Well, they spit it out because the human digestive system isn't optimized for raw bone meal and certain animal byproducts, but their taste buds act as the ultimate quality assurance tool. They are guaranteeing that millions of animals receive meals that are not only nutritionally flawless, but genuinely delicious and engaging for them to eat.
it is wild to think that behind every single bag of kibble sitting on the shelf at the grocery store, some highly trained professional in a white lab coat had to sit there, thoughtfully chew on it, and analyze the subtle notes of beef liver. It really makes you appreciate the unseen, rigorous labor operating behind the scenes of our world.
Yeah, and the connecting thread across all three of these bizarre jobs is how intentionally these professionals analyze everyday experiences. They don't just let an experience happen, right? They break it down, measure it, and optimize it.
And that leads us perfectly into the second half of our mission today, because we rarely apply that same rigorous, intentional analysis to the way we describe our own daily experiences, specifically how we talk about our time.
Right. The language we use to describe our routines fundamentally shapes how we psychologically process our lives.
Exactly. The Speakeasy English source material includes this incredibly useful Natural English Upgrade segment. The goal here is to help you, the listener, transition away from using those basic, rigid textbook English translations and start using the natural, vivid, conversational phrasing that native speakers actually use when talking about their day.
As we explore these phrases, I really want you to notice a very specific linguistic pattern. Pay attention to why the natural upgrades feel so much more authentic. It actually has to do with how the human brain prefers to visualize abstract concepts like time using physical metaphors.
Okay, let's look at the first example from the source notes, and I am incredibly guilty of this one. You're sitting at your computer, you open a new tab just to check one thing, and suddenly it's 2 hours later.
We've all been there.
In basic textbook English, you might say, I wasted time on the internet. But the natural English upgrade from the notes is, I got carried away watching videos.
Got carried away. Notice the physical kinetic metaphor there. It's as if the internet videos were a rushing river and you stepped into the water and the sheer current physically lifted you up and carried you downstream.
It changes the entire emotional tone of the sentence. When you say, I wasted time, you are taking on this heavy burden of guilt, like you made a bad choice. But saying, I got carried away, acknowledges the momentum of the activity. It's so much more forgiving.
Exactly.
It wasn't entirely my fault. The algorithm was just a river that swept me off my feet.
It relieves that cognitive dissonance by describing time as a force of nature rather than a personal failure.
The next one operates on a very similar visual. Basic English. The hours passed without me noticing. The natural upgrade. My morning slipped away.
Again, time is being treated as a tangible, physical object. If something is slippery, imagine holding a wet bar of soap or a smooth stone in a stream. It is inherently hard to hold on to. Time slipping away provides this beautiful, almost poetic and universally relatable image of time, literally sliding right through your fingers despite your conscious effort to grasp it.
It paints such a clear picture in the mind. Let's look at the next one. Basic English.
Yeah.
I delayed my work. The natural upgrade. I kept putting it off. Why do native speakers prefer that specific phrasing?
Because putting it off is a spatial metaphor. It implies you are literally picking up a heavy task with your hands and physically placing it further down the timeline of your day. You are creating spatial distance between your current self and the obligation.
You're picking up the stress and setting it down for future you to deal with. Poor future me. All right, let's pivot to the positive side of time management. Basic English. I used my free time well. The natural upgrade. I made the most of my free time.
This metaphor really implies extraction and manufacturing. You have a finite, limited raw resource, your free time, and you actively extracted the maximum possible value, joy, or productivity from it. You made the most out of the raw material you were handed.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, next up, basic English. I followed my plan. The natural upgrade. I stayed on track.
Think of the engineering of a locomotive here. A train is immensely powerful and capable of moving fast, but that power is only useful if it remains strictly on the rails. If you stay on track, you are acknowledging that there were distractions that could have caused a derailment, but you successfully maintained your directed path.
And the final one from our source notes. Basic English. I found time for a hobby. The natural upgrade. I carved out time for myself.
This might actually be the most powerful metaphor on the list, carved out. It suggests that your schedule is a solid, impenetrable block of stone or, like, heavy wood.
Right, because we're all so busy.
Exactly. In the modern cult of busyness, schedules are dense and hard. To get time for yourself, you can't just passively find it lying around on the ground. You have to take a sharp chisel and aggressively, intentionally remove pieces of your busy schedule to create an empty space.
Yeah.
It requires deliberate, forceful action.
You really have to fight for that time. You have to carve it right out of the rock. Okay, so we've got these amazing, vivid phrases. Got carried away, slipped away, putting it off, made the most of, stayed on track, and carved out time. Now, we want to make this a two-way street. We want you, the listener, to actively apply what we just discussed.
Yeah, active recall is the absolute best psychological mechanism to cement new vocabulary permanently in your mind.
So we're going to put you in the hot seat for a second. I'm going to describe a highly relatable situation to you using basic English.
Yeah.
I will pause for a moment, and I want you to try and recall the natural English upgrade we just analyzed. Say it out loud if you're alone in the car, or just, shout it in your head.
Let's do it.
Ready? Imagine it's Saturday. You meant to do your taxes, but you delayed the work. You kept telling yourself, I'll just do it in an hour. What did you keep doing to your taxes? You physically moved the task down your timeline.
If you said you kept putting it off, you nailed it.
Perfect. Okay, let's keep going. Still Saturday. Instead of doing those taxes, you ended up watching 3 hours of videos about golden retrievers learning how to swim. The hours passed without you noticing. Your morning was like a wet bar of soap. It just
Your morning just slipped away because you got carried away by the algorithmic current of those videos.
It is a very dangerous river of cuteness. We've all been there. All right, last scenario. It's Sunday now. You decided to be disciplined. You followed your plan today, and you actively forced your rigid schedule to give you an hour to paint, finding time for your hobby by using a chisel on that block of stone. What did you do?
You stayed on track like a train on its rails, and you intentionally carved out time for yourself.
I'm sure you did great on those. And look, if you didn't pull the exact phrase right away, that is completely fine. That is exactly why we practice. Bringing all of this together, it is truly incredible how exploring the notes from Speakeasy English takes us on this huge arc from the absolute extremes of how the global workforce engineers water slides and analyzes dog food right back into the intimate details of our own daily habits.
It really is a seamless connection, if you think about it, because whether we are talking about a professional evaluator painstakingly analyzing the safety of a 70-foot drop, or you just trying to stay on track with your own English studies on a Sunday afternoon, there is a unified core philosophy at play here.
Yeah.
The source material summarizes it beautifully. It says, doing less but choosing better, or finding a job that truly matches your unique passion, is the fundamental key to a happy life.
It is all about intentionality, carving out the life you actually want to live, rather than just letting the days slip away while you get carried away by the current. Before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to pass along a warm parting message directly from the hosts of Speakeasy English. They left a note in the source saying, keep practicing, Keep turning your real life into real English and take care of your English and your heart.
A truly wonderful and encouraging sentiment to close on.
But we aren't going to let you go without one final strange thing to chew on. Think back to those bizarre careers we started with. The dedicated people who evaluate the luxury beds, the water slides, the pet food. We want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder long after you hit stop today.
All right, what is it?
If you had the budget to invent a bizarre, highly specialized job just to evaluate one mundane part of your own daily routine, what would it be? And how would hiring a professional tester for your own life fundamentally change your perspective on the everyday things you completely take for granted?
Would they rigorously audit the exact temperature and foam ratio of your morning coffee routine? Would they evaluate the kinetic flow and stress levels of your daily commute?
Exactly. What is the one thing in your life that deserves a professional evaluation? Something to think about while you're carving out time and staying on track today. Until next time.